You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Monday, happy Moon Day, and happy almost eclipse. Tonight is the night, or maybe tomorrow morning, depending on where you live, but we're experiencing a total lunar eclipse in Taurus. And while eclipses are notorious for being intense, bringing quick, unexpected changes sometimes, all of the planets that are involved in this eclipse add another layer of intensity. So we have a lot to talk about today. I'm going to break down all of the players that are infusing their energy into this huge astrological event that we will be able to witness as we look up to the full moon tonight. And the Earth's shadow is cast on the moon. The Earth will be directly between the moon and the sun, and we'll see it turn that orangey reddish glow. And also in this episode, I'll tell you what this lunar eclipse means for you based on your rising sign. So if you're finding this video later and you want a quick breakdown of what it means for you, a little mini horoscope, I'll go ahead and add markers to the timeline so you can jump ahead to your sign. And we're doing things differently today. I'm going to pull a card for each sign as well, see what wisdom the universe wants to bring through for you. And just to add another layer on to things, that's going to be the theme of today's episode. And this and that. I'm going to have some fun announcements at the end of our time together today about ways that you can win some fun, free things as we make our way towards 11/11, the 1-year anniversary of The Spiritual Journalist. So this is just the beginning of a fun week here in my world, and I'm excited for all of you to be part of it. Who's here with us this morning? Corby is here, Rose is here, Rachel's here, the gang's all here. Yes, this one should be very interesting. Absolutely. And Heather also says she's a little scared. Don't fear the eclipses. That's why we're here, to navigate together. When we understand the energy, we can work with it rather than it working us. So don't be scared. It's going to be okay. Everything that's meant to happen will happen. Nick's here. Angela's here. Ooh, Rachel says, I plan on waking up early to see if I can see the eclipse. If not, I'll just journal. You should be able to see it. So if you're wondering, will I be able to see it? If you're here in North America, in the Pacific time zone, I looked into this because I plan on observing it tonight. We'll start to see the Earth's shadow on the moon right after midnight Pacific, so 3 a.m. your time on the East Coast. And it becomes... what's the word I'm looking for? Someone let me know. I forget. It's not the apex. It's the full illumination or observation of the eclipse. There's a scientific term for this. Is right around 3 a.m. and we'll be able to see that shadowing until about 4:40, I think, in the Pacific time zone. So if you're up by 5, 6, even 7 a.m., you should be able to see it on the East Coast as well. And depending on where you live, I'll let you do the math, but want to make sure that it's dark wherever you are and that the moon is up. So that's, if you live in Europe or even farther east, you might not be able to see this one, but you were able to see the solar eclipse over there. So we get the lunar eclipse. The other part of the world got the solar eclipse. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, other Katie. Lots of Katies here today. This does feel like a powerful opportunity for transformation. That's exactly what this is. Fern is here too. Wow. Okay, let's get into it because I think we're all feeling this energy. Let's start with a current check on where is the sun and where is the moon. Susie says it's called fulcrum when the eclipse is at its peak. It's at fulcrum. Okay. The sun is in Scorpio, the moon is in Taurus. So the sun and moon are in opposite signs. These are the makings of a full moon and of an eclipse. Because remember, the south node is in Scorpio, the north node is in Taurus. And when we have these activations during a full moon, that's the recipe for an eclipse. So we're feeling that opposition with Taurus being a very earthy, grounded, physically focused sign, and Scorpio more energetic, emotional, tapping us into what lies beneath the subcontext of all things. I want to start by talking about the lunar eclipse, and then we will get into all of the different players. I will kind of go chronologically like I normally do, but there's so much going on that I think we're just going to have to focus on one planet at a time and how it's playing into everything. So here we go. This total lunar eclipse in Taurus. This is a great point to grab your birth chart. You can scan the QR code or look at the description down below this video to get a copy of your birth chart. And take a look at which house in your chart is ruled by Taurus. Specifically, where does 16 degrees of Taurus fall in your birth chart? This is what's going to be activated by this lunar eclipse. If you're not there yet, if you don't have your birth chart, that's okay. I'll tell you what it means for you as the show goes on. But if you are a little more advanced, seeing are there any other planets around that 16 degree mark or any 15 to 20 degree marks in fixed signs. That's what's going to be activated the most by this eclipse, and it could help you pinpoint exactly what is transforming or shifting for you in your life. But for all of us experiencing this total lunar eclipse in Taurus, this is a turning point in many ways. As we observe the Earth's shadow, we become aware of our own shadows. These are the themes of eclipses, but it's almost as if this full moon marks a culmination point of not only the past 2 weeks since the solar eclipse in Scorpio, but also the past 6 months since the lunar eclipse in Taurus, and the past year, because 1 year ago, we had an eclipse in Taurus, a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, right around this time of year. So this eclipse feels like a culmination point of a lot of different cycles and a lot of awareness coming up. A great way to work with the eclipse, although I don't recommend manifesting or doing any moon rituals because the light of the full moon is blocked out by the Earth's shadows. So when we're doing, rituals under the full moon or charging our crystals, we are utilizing the light of the moon to charge the energy of the crystals. When the Earth's shadow blocks it out, it's not quite as powerful. So I wouldn't do any normal rituals if you're a witchy person like that. Instead, I would just observe the eclipse, watch the Earth's shadow on the moon, and see what insights come up for you. See if you have any moments of awareness. Reflect as we're seeing the Earth's literal reflection on the moon. Reflect on how much has changed, how much has grown, how much has transpired in these time periods, in the short term and in the long term. So a lot of shadows have been surfacing for a lot of people since the solar eclipse, a lot of tension, a lot of difficult transits we've been walking through. And that's not all just going to dissipate because we have a lunar eclipse. But again, this is a moment of full awareness where we gain a greater understanding of those shadows, of what's been holding us back from fully growing and achieving and moving forward. We might even gain a greater understanding of our own values because Taurus rules our values. So if you do happen to catch the eclipse tonight, or maybe you want to journal in the next day or so, as we are feeling into this energy, really reflecting on your values. What's important to me? Am I living in accordance with my values? And if I'm not, what changes do I need to make? Or what boundaries do I need to set? Boundaries are going to be big theme that we'll be talking about as we get into the different players, the different planets involved in this eclipse. But boundaries have been coming up a lot for a lot of people, and the Scorpio-Taurus axis really brings boundaries into play. Cord cutting, if you are feeling the need to do some sort of ritual cord cutting, burning, releasing in some way under the eclipse could be really powerful. But I wouldn't do it just to do it. Only if you really feel like there is an energetic attachment to someone or something that you need to get rid of, an energy leak, if you will. This eclipse could be a great time to cut it off, say goodbye. If it's no longer in alignment with your values, it is time to go. And this eclipse could just be that breaking point that shows you, okay, this is how we move forward. This is what we've got to do. So just reflecting, how has your reality shifted over these time periods? How much have you already manifested? Full moons are a great time for gratitude, and even eclipses. I think gratitude is always the answer. I think anytime we're feeling lost, anytime we're feeling overwhelmed, coming back to gratitude can be really helpful. So finding gratitude for all that has come to be and all that has fallen away too. And trusting. Trust is a huge theme of eclipse season. Trusting that what's meant for you will find you, and what's no longer meant for you is leaving you right now. So really continuing this deep surrender, but finding gratitude for all that has transpired and for the transformation you're currently undergoing, because even difficult transformations are meant to happen. They're meant to help us evolve and grow. And this is a huge culmination point in this evolution that we've been talking about over the past few weeks specifically. So that's just a basic overview of this eclipse energy, and really how to work with an eclipse, if you will. You guys are very chatty in the comments today. I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of your comments, but I am loving this. And I just love, been dealing with trouble with a coworker, so I'm worried about that. That's a great example of, the things that we've been dealing with during eclipse season, the shadows that have been coming up, the obstacles that we have been facing. Again, this eclipse is a culmination point of all of those things. So really coming back to, okay, what's important to me? Am I investing? How much time and energy am I investing into this energetic leak or into this problem or into this obstacle? And is that really worthwhile? What am I getting out of it? So again, these are questions to ask yourselves. Yeah, definitely feeling the awareness, especially after the loss of Mia. So sad. Yeah, but it's, also two other losses close to me. Someone in our community who we all love just lost a family member as well. And this eclipse is conjunct Uranus. Uranus is nicknamed the death planet. It brings quick, unexpected changes, breakdowns. Not to say that that's the reason why we're losing people in this earthly realm, but it's a big theme, big changes happening in our lives that force us to have these moments of awareness, of greater awareness. And the eclipse for all of us is just, if you think about it too, all over at least the country or this part of the world, people will be looking up and observing the moon all at the same time. There's great power and great awareness in that energy in itself. Everybody looking at the same thing and focusing on how they feel, how it impacts them, this powerful moment. So there's going to be vibrational shifts as we're all collectively focused on this one event. It's really powerful, but it doesn't make the personal things that are happening in each of our lives necessarily easier. Just know that you're not alone. I think if there's one thing that we can kind of lean into during this eclipse is that we're not alone. We're all experiencing the same energy, and we can visibly see the energy we're experiencing during an eclipse, which is really cool. Wow, last November, around this time, I manifested exactly where I'm at today, which is pretty amazing. Amazing! That's beautiful! So that's this moment of awareness. How much has transpired? How much has grown in your life in the past year? Yeah, you might be dealing with annoyances here and there, boundary issues, obstacles. Yes, of course, we're human. That's bound to happen. but think bigger picture during this eclipse. What has culminated for you? What has happened for you, and how have you transformed? Yes, trust is the theme of this eclipse. The collective unconscious, Nick says. I love that you said this, because the unconscious can become conscious during an eclipse. You know, think back to the first humans who started observing and recording eclipses. They thought disaster was happening. You know, they thought like, oh my gosh, the moon is turning red. It's a sign from God. It's a sign from beyond that bad things are going to happen. Of course, we know that's not true. But as time went on, think about how eclipses, how much they taught us about our own solar system, being able to see our own shadow, the Earth's shadow on the moon. You know, it's the only time during eclipses that we can visibly see the Earth from Earth, or a reflection of the Earth, if you will. So the unconscious, this big rock we're all floating on, we get to visibly see it tonight, which is really, really cool. Yeah, sorry to everybody experiencing loss. Our love goes out to you. And not even just loss and grief in death, but also loss in any way. Eclipses can also be a time, as we think back to the past year, a lot of us have lost a lot, or things have changed. And even in positive changes, we can experience grief. That's something I was talking to my good friend about last night. You know, just grieving what was, and that's okay too. So if you're feeling that right now, full moons always amplify our emotions. If you're feeling all the feelings, it's Scorpio season as well. Just know that we're here for you and sending love to you, and you are not alone. This is a time to transform. Huge for Bree right now. Yeah. Is this really the last eclipse for a couple years? Someone told me until 2025. I don't think that's true. I will have to look into that. I have not heard that. But there's usually eclipses about every 6 months or so. So I don't think that's true. I'll get back to you on that if I find validity in that. Okay, so now let's start talking about what else is going on, because it's not just the eclipse we're experiencing tonight. Tomorrow morning around 8:45 in the morning Pacific time, the sun is conjunct Mercury. So this is a great time to pull up the chart and show you. You can literally see this pattern playing out right now. We have a grand trine in water signs at the time of the eclipse. So we'll touch on that in a moment, but just know emotions are heightened. There's a grand trine at play. You might be emotional. It's watery, it's intuitive. So our intuition is very much heightened as well. But if you'll look in Scorpio, the sun and Mercury in a conjunction over here during the eclipse. So the sun and moon are on opposite sides of the earth during an eclipse. Obviously, that's how we see the earth's shadow. But Mercury will be right there conjunct the sun as well. Of course, we can't see Mercury because the sun is right there, and the sun is going to block it out. But this is also called a Mercury Cazimi that we are experiencing during this eclipse. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. If you are new here, you might not have heard of what a Mercury Cazimi is, and you can actually go back on my YouTube channel or on thespiritualjournalist.com and search Mercury Cazimi, because I've done multiple videos about it. One just a couple weeks ago, we experienced Mercury Cazimi right before I think Mercury retrograde ended. We've experienced a Mercury Cazimi recently, but the sun conjunct Mercury, just to refresh you, even if you already know what this means, Mercury Cazimi means in the heart of. Mercury crossing through the heart of the sun. And whenever we have a planet that is Cazimi or conjunct the sun, it's as if the sun's rays are supercharging that planet, and that planet becomes the ruler of our solar system, takes the sun's throne for just a moment. Now, when we have a Mercury Cazimi, we can have powerful insights, crystal clear messages can come through our mental state, because Mercury is the planet of communication, ruling our mindset, ruling our brain, essentially. So Mercury's influence is supercharged, and Mercury being in Scorpio is very intuitive. Secrets could come to light with that Scorpio energy at play. You could have really powerful, intimate conversations either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Or as you are observing the eclipse, you might just have some really powerful ideas or realizations, lessons learned, and realizations are definitely possible during this eclipse for all of us. So the Sun conjunct Mercury is adding just a very powerful layer to this entire energy that we're feeling right now. And as Mercury is kind of in the Sun's throne, if you will, we're feeling this, especially tomorrow morning as we wake up. Maybe we're processing the emotions that came up during the eclipse, or like I said, it could happen as you're watching the eclipse. But these are these aha moments that can come through. Not only could secrets be revealed, but Mercury in Scorpio really wants us to get to the truth of things, get to the bottom of things. And so you could understand a deeper truth during this eclipse. You know, we're talking about how it's a huge culmination point, a deeper truth about your values, about your situation, about your relationships. We're going to be talking about Venus as well. A deeper truth could be revealed during this eclipse. So just one of the very powerful transits that's happening all at the same time. Really, you heard that as well. I will look into this and report back. I have not heard that this is the last eclipse in a long time. It's probably the last eclipse on the Taurus Scorpio axis for a while. That is likely, but I'll have to look into it. I will have to look into it. Okay, so we've talked about Mercury a little bit, but I also want to show you something else that's happening with Mercury, as if the Mercury Cazimi wasn't enough. Tomorrow night, specifically, so Tuesday night, Mercury opposes Uranus, but we are feeling this energy during the eclipse as well because the full moon is conjunct Uranus. So let's finish talking about Mercury, then we'll move on specifically to what Uranus is doing. But you can see this opposition playing out. Mercury over here, Uranus over here. What does this mean when Mercury opposes Uranus? Well, we're in this energy of crystal clarity, of downloads, of insights. And with the opposition to Uranus, change of mind. A change of mind, a shift in consciousness is possible because Mercury is all about our mind, right? Plans could also shift as a result of this eclipse. Mercury rules our day-to-day plans, our routines. So your plans could change as Mercury opposes Uranus in the day following the eclipse. Uranus is the planet of disruption. It wants to change things up, and often it does so through surprises or quick changes or upsets. So Tuesday in general will likely feel very fast-paced, maybe a little frantic or chaotic. You might be feeling a bit anxious just because the energy is so heightened and there's just a lot happening at the same time. You might find it also difficult to concentrate. Mercury Cazimi early Tuesday morning should be like, aha, okay, I get it. But then you might be trying to process things, or that aha moment could kind of derail your mental process for the rest of the day. You know, your ability to just like concentrate on your daily mundane tasks will likely be disrupted by the insights that come through during the eclipse. So your mind could just be like bouncing around to whatever's stimulating, or if you had this great idea, maybe even a super creative idea that you want to just jump into thanks to the eclipse, it could be hard to keep your mind on things that aren't quite as stimulating. Also, Mercury opposing Uranus can make us a little bit impulsive or disruptive with the way we communicate, with Mercury being the planet of communication. So beware of like blurting things out or speaking out of turn or being disruptive in that way. Even being disruptive in how you're saying things. Mercury and Scorpio can make our communication a little bit harsh. So we want to be careful about how we are communicating tomorrow. I would say also any major decisions, negotiations, anything that you really want to think through and be sure about, I would put off until we're a few days away from the eclipse, especially with this opposition to Uranus. We're more likely to decide on the thing that feels exciting in the moment rather than being a little bit more stable, responsible about the decisions we're making. So Mercury opposing Uranus could scatter our brain a little bit, but also bring through innovation after Mercury Cazimi. So we're in this very like innovative, exciting mindset. It just might make it difficult to focus on the tasks at hand, the things that we normally need to focus on. Okay. Oh, Ken is here. It's been a while. Hey, Ken. So those are the three major transits that we are experiencing during and following the eclipse. Now I want to talk about Uranus a little bit more, because at the time of the eclipse specifically, the moon is conjunct Uranus. Okay, so this full moon lunar eclipse is blending with the energy of Uranus. When we have a conjunction, it's like the two planets that are conjoined, that are meeting in the sky, are sharing energy, are blending energy. So full moon eclipses are always times of change, transformation, but Uranus being here as well just enhances that energy. I told you the key word is going to be and today, and this and that. There's so much going on. You can see on the chart though, with the moon conjunct Uranus, we could wake up, or even just while we're observing the eclipse, feel a little bit spontaneous, or like it's going to supercharge the energy of excitement for sure. So if you're watching the eclipse, or you might have a hard time sleeping, it's going to be very stimulating with Uranus here. It's just putting this it's underlining the theme of change, of transformation, of disruption, of this being a turning point. Remember, eclipses happen on the nodes of fate as well. So whatever changes are happening for you now are fated. They are supposed to happen. The north and south nodes confirm this destined event, right? But the moon conjunct Uranus, if it's just a normal moon conjunct Uranus, I always say, like, beware of being disruptive, being a little bit impulsive or rebellious. That energy will definitely be present during the eclipse. And then the moon is also opposing Mercury, as Mercury opposes Uranus, right? And that can make us, our moods change very quickly when the moon opposes Mercury. So change, disruption, things not going according to plan, all par for the course with this eclipse. On a bright note, my mom and I are supposed to order our plane tickets to Paris tonight. Are we being too impulsive? Have you been talking about this trip for a while? I think you're good. I think that could be a fun way to lean into the energy and just be like, oh, we're feeling the excitement of this eclipse. Let's do it. Also knowing, does Taurus rule your 9th house, or will this eclipse be in your 9th house? Then absolutely book those tickets. The 9th house rules travel. So taking a look at your chart and kind of how this eclipse is playing into it will be helpful. But if you got the idea during the eclipse to go to Paris, I would say don't order the tickets. If this is something you two have been planning on for weeks or even months, I think you're safe. I wonder the potential for healing energies during the eclipse. That is a great question. That's a great question. Chiron, the wounded healer, is not really playing into this eclipse, so I don't see like this huge theme of healing. Really, the theme is change and transformation, but it's important to note that change can be healing, and change can trigger healing, right? When we're forced to get out of our comfort zone. So speaking of our comfort zone, speaking of pushing boundaries and learning lessons and maybe even healing, let's talk about Saturn, because if you'll see on the chart, there is a T-square playing out during this eclipse, and that T-square is to Saturn. So you can see the moon and Uranus are squaring Saturn. Mercury And the sun and Venus are also squaring Saturn. Yeah. So what does that mean? Well, if it was a normal day and the moon was squaring Saturn, I would say be aware of feeling a little negative or sad or depressed. But because we have all these other energies at play, I think it's just going to be more exciting than how Saturn's influence normally feels. Now, we experience the moon squaring Saturn first thing Tuesday morning. So you might be feeling a little bit of like a hangover energy from the excitement that was the eclipse. That's a byproduct. But in a broader sense, in a general sense, when we look at this T-square playing out on the chart here, you can see that right angle, that triangle with Saturn at this pinnacle point, this focal point. This is why this eclipse really feels like a turning point in the lessons that we have been learning. The Scorpio season, the past 6 months, and the past year. Saturn is the planet of karma. It's known as the father of the zodiac. It's here to teach us harsh lessons. And boy, have we been learning harsh lessons over the past couple weeks. The solar eclipse was no joke. The transits leading up to this eclipse have been pretty intense, and Saturn's role in all of this is here to teach us some lessons. But with Saturn being at this focal point in the T-square, that's why it feels like a turning point. And with Mercury Cazimi bringing that energy of, aha, I get it now, it feels more like a lesson learned or a culmination of all the things the universe has been trying to teach us, all the shadows that have been surfacing during Scorpio season. It's like Saturn is here to be like, okay, let's make sense of all these things and why these things are happening and pull the lessons from the pain or the obstacles that we have been experiencing. But remember, it's a square. It's a T-square, which is the least comfortable aspect we talk about when we talk about astrology. So remember that the lessons we're learning don't come easy, and they're not necessarily comfortable to learn. They force us to take stock of our boundaries, with Saturn being the planet of boundaries. That's why I said boundaries are going to come up a lot. And it could be that the turning point or the lesson you're learning is how to have better boundaries physically, energetically, how to protect your energy. Saturn's all about protection, right? How to protect your energy and, you know, what's no longer serving you, letting that fall away so you can fully understand who you're supposed to become. Just feels like a huge learning moment. And Saturn is kind of that authoritative voice that's like, okay, you're dealing with this discomfort for a reason. And it's kind of that question, like, why is this happening? And a square to Saturn could bring up the fears and doubts that you've probably been experiencing most of Scorpio season and just bring them into clear focus, especially with Mercury Cazimi. It's like Mercury Cazimi is happening almost at the exact same time as this square to Saturn. So it's just this clear understanding of the lessons we've been learning by facing our shadows and processing these deep emotions that have been coming up during Scorpio season. Definitely learning lessons, acceptance, forgiveness, moving forward. A beautiful synopsis of how Saturn is playing into this. Ooh, Rachel says, feeling this. Saturday, I ended up getting a flat tire, just bought those tires, started being really hard on myself because it was my fault, but stopped and gave myself grace. Thanks, Saturn and Uranus. Yeah, and this is a great like allegory, if you will, about these eclipses. Getting a flat tire sucks, you know, and you're like, oh, why is this happening? You know, and then Saturn's influence, like, okay, we have to be responsible. We have to buy the new tires. We have to be a grown up. We have to be an adult. Like, and Saturn can feel like that, being hard on yourself. Like, why didn't I already do this? Or why did this happen? Or just that negativity in general. But it feels like you reached a turning point of like, no, this wasn't my fault. I couldn't control that my tire went flat. And maybe sometimes when weird things happen to like my car or I'm late for something, I'm always like, maybe this saved me from something like a crash or, you know, something else while driving that would have been a lot more damaging. So yeah, sending you love. But I think that's a great example of just kind of the hardships and the obstacles that we've been facing. And Saturn is here to help us make sense of why we've been dealing with all these pain points and what lessons we're learning from them. This eclipse has been pushing me to let go of control and trust others while also discerning boundaries. Yeah, trust, control, all themes that Scorpio season brings up. And again, this eclipse is kind of a culmination point of Scorpio season in general. So trusting, letting go, giving yourself grace, appreciating what's already grown and manifested in your life as we look back and reflect on the past cycle, but also, okay, learning these lessons about where do I need to assert better boundaries, or where have my boundaries been crossed, and then stepping into almost that Saturn role of like, no, I am the authority in my life, I'm the leader in my life, and I deserve to have clear boundaries, not just so I can better relate to other people, but also so I can protect my own energy and feel stronger in my sense of self. I moved states a year ago and I'm about to do it again. Wow, these eclipses forcing you to move, or maybe not forcing, allowing you to move. So many hard lessons so I can get the lessons completed. Yeah, flat tire, moving, kind of these things that feel like not the most fun while we're in them, but can be turning points or transformative experiences, big or small. That feels like the square to Saturn. So thank you for sharing all of the big and small annoyances and hardships that you've all been facing lately, because again, Saturn will bring those things up and force us to deal with stuff we don't want to deal with so we can learn the lesson. Okay, we've talked about the full moon, the lunar eclipse. We've talked about Mercury Cazimi opposing Uranus. We've talked about the full moon conjunct Uranus, these big changes. We've talked about the T-square to Saturn, marking this turning point and lessons learned. Now we're going to talk about Venus. The full moon will oppose Venus on Tuesday morning around 11 a.m. Pacific time, so 2 p.m. Eastern time. When the moon opposes Venus, we feel a little bit needy. We feel like we really need affection and love, and it might be that this full moon is illuminating some of the tension you've been experiencing in relationships. If we aren't able to get, let me backtrack here. I think sometimes when we're going through big changes and disruptions in our life or learning lessons, we want to have that safety net. We want to feel loved. We want to feel like someone's got our back, right? And if we don't feel like we're getting that on Tuesday, we might look to anything else to make us feel good, to make us feel comfortable amid all of the discomfort that this eclipse brings up. So Tuesday, you might find yourself reaching for a sugary treat or something to indulge in. You might find yourself frivolously shopping, doing anything involving like food, love, money, beauty that just feels like it's going to give you a quick fix for pleasure or that rush of dopamine. Now, to each their own, no judgment here. If you want to have that Twinkie on a Tuesday afternoon, like, you do you, honey, but is it in accordance with your values? The moon opposing Venus can make us kind of like sideline our values to get what we want in the moment. So really being rooted in our values through this whole eclipse process, reflecting on our values, knowing what's important to us, and not letting that temporary urge to feel good or feel comfortable derail us from our values. And this is a great point to bring up the chart again, because we've talked about this conjunction between Mercury and the sun during the eclipse, Mercury being a major player in this, bringing through these insights, but Venus is very close by still. And we talked about Venus Cazimi just a few days ago when Venus passed through the heart of the sun. So Venus being so close by is still considered a conjunction. And that means Venus's role is almost as influential as all these other planets we've been talking about during the eclipse. So the full moon is opposing Venus, Uranus is opposing Venus, And I believe we'll be diving into that opposition between Uranus and Venus on Wednesday. The sun opposing Uranus, actually. I think we already did Venus opposing Uranus. There's been a lot of oppositions to Uranus. So if you are feeling like drawn to these changes that are happening in relationships, go back and watch the weekend forecast. We broke down that opposition between Venus and Uranus, but all of that is playing into the eclipse too. So yes, we're experiencing insights, lessons, downloads, changes, but our relationships and our values, with Venus being very much involved in this eclipse, are highlighted during all of the transits that we're feeling. And of course, with the full moon in Taurus, the full moon is ruled by Venus. So Venus is a heavy hitter in all of this as well. And Venus wants us to remember our values so we don't end up eating a whole box of powdered donuts just to medicate the discomfort that we're feeling, right? Yeah. Okay, 3 more connections to talk about with the moon. These are all more minor connections as the day goes on Tuesday. So you will see, oh yeah, really feeling that heaviness of forcing my relationships to work being lifted, releasing that control. Amen to that. Whatever is meant for me will find me. Whatever is not meant for me will graciously leave my life and make space for something new to grow. So, and remember, when we talk about Venus, when we talk about relationships, it's not just romance. It could be friendships that are experiencing changes. It could be, I think, what Heather was saying about dealing with someone at work, like a partnership at work that's not working, or, difficulties dealing with your children and that relationship feeling some strain. So the lessons we're learning, our relationships are always our greatest teachers, as I like to say. The lessons we're learning are very much reflected by our relationships right now too. And releasing control, trusting in a plan greater than our understanding is beautiful. Rachel says, I've been working on not being so codependent, and Venus will be on top of my Pluto. Wow, a transformation in how you are relating to others. It could be another test, but yeah, transformation in your relationship for sure. For sure. Okay, so throughout the afternoon, Mercury forms a sextile to, well, multiple sextiles actually, to Neptune and Lilith, and not Mercury, the moon. You get it. It's written right here on the screen so you can follow along, so I can follow along. The moon forming a sextile to Neptune and Lilith. This is where that grand trine is going to come into play. So you see that blue triangle on the chart, right? We have Neptune at 22 degrees in Pisces over here, Lilith at 23 degrees in Cancer, and we have this 20-degree placement with Venus in Scorpio. So we're really feeling that watery energy. And then you'll see the moon is situated right between Neptune and Lilith. Okay, so we understand what this looks like on a chart. This is actually a kite pattern on the chart with this grand trine and the moon being this focal point of the kite up here. So as the moon gets support from Neptune and Lilith and opposes Venus, we're really tapped into our intuition with this overwhelming watery energy. Water is very emotional. It's very intuitive. So throughout the day, as we're processing a lot of the downloads that came through, we're really tapped into our intuition. And with these nice supportive angles from the moon to Neptune and the moon to Lilith, it's a nice balancing act that we're playing between being overpowering and being overly sensitive. So the moon being situated between Neptune, which is very compassionate and creative and sensitive and kind of floaty, and then Lilith, which is very grounded in our like power and what we deserve and claiming our sovereignty and that wildness, right? The moon is nicely situated in between both of these things, and finding that midpoint between claiming our power and setting our boundaries, but then also blurring our boundaries and allowing ourselves to feel into other people's energy and relate to other people through compassion and empathy. That's a nice sweet spot to be in. And that is where I think we can truly tap into our own intuition, when we are aware of our energy just as much as we're aware of other people's energy. a beautiful quote by Brene Brown, and it might not be an exact quote, but she says in one of her, I think it was Atlas of the Heart on HBO Max, she says, you can't have compassion without boundaries. And this transit specifically feels like that. We want to be compassionate for other people's experiences. We know everyone is feeling all the feels of this lunar eclipse, right? So we want to be compassionate if other people are feeling disruptive or going through a hard time or experiencing grief or loss or transformation of any kind. That's not easy for a human to deal with. We're just trying to human over here, you know, so we can be compassionate, but also there is this, if we're too compassionate or if we're too empathetic, it can be easy to take on other people's energy or let that affect our energy. And Lilith is here to be like, no. It's about me. I need to have boundaries. I know what I'm worth. I know what I deserve. And I will make it known what I'm worth and how I'm sovereign, really, like how I am in control of myself. So it's flow versus control. It's empathy versus selfishness almost, and not selfishness in a negative way, but just in understanding our own boundaries and setting them and holding our boundaries. So the moon makes this nice supportive connection to both planets, helping us find middle ground between those things. And remember, the moon will be opposing Venus in this grand kite. I don't know if it's called a grand kite, but it's a kite nonetheless, in this kite pattern. So relationships are really going to show us how we can find that middle ground between compassion and boundaries, right? And you can't have compassion without boundaries. You can't fully be compassionate for someone else's experience if you don't know where your experience ends and their experience begins. You have to have that boundary to be like, oh, you're experiencing that over here. I'm not going to take that on, so I can be supportive for you, so I can be in my own energy and hold my own power. And then also understanding, you know, as I'm saying this, if you aren't in the space to hold space for other people, that can be a boundary you set. Like, I know you're really going through a hard time, but so am I right now. And I just don't think I can hold that space for you in this moment. I love you and I'm here for you, but I kind of need to process my own stuff right now. So that's okay. It's okay to set that boundary if you aren't able to emotionally take on other people's problems. Like, we've all got our own stuff to work out under this eclipse, right? This sounds like a beautiful transit, Katie says, to connect with others, but with holding our own energy. This highly sensitive needs this supportive energy. Absolutely. And Lilith has got you. And, you know, Lilith is that inner bitch. So we don't need to fully let her come out. You know, we don't want to be like, I can't deal with your problems right now. That's if we're overly leaning into Lilith, that we're like, nope, not important, right? But if we're overly leaning into Neptune's energy, we're kind of like, oh, what I'm dealing with doesn't matter. Let me help you. Let me be there for you, you know? So again, middle ground. Yeah, this does work well with your distant Aquarian Capricorn energy. And I feel like you setting boundaries might come a little more easily for you with all that Aquarius and Capricorn in your chart. And that's not a bad thing. There are a lot of us in the world who could take notes from the Capricorns out there who are all about their boundaries. Okay, and then the last transit we'll talk about before we get into what this moon means for you, what this eclipse means for you, is on Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Pacific time, so late into the night on Tuesday. This feels like kind of the end of this really potent transformation that the eclipse brings. The moon harmonizes with Pluto and Capricorn. And Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, the planet of transformation. A trine is this very natural, easy angle. So it feels like the transformation just kind of starts to unfold as the moon and Pluto harmonize. And we'll still be feeling the energy of Mercury, Cazimi. We'll still be feeling really all of the energy we've talked about. So as we gain a greater understanding, as we process things as the day goes on, it might just be like, oh, okay, this is the transformation we're undergoing. It's like we can just easily see what's being alchemized, with Pluto being the alchemist, you know? And it's a moment, I feel like, to start our rise, like the phoenix, you know? Scorpio solar eclipse marked that death, marked a lot of things falling away. And as they were falling away, a lot of shadows were surfacing. We were working through a lot of things. This full moon, this lunar eclipse is the culmination point of all of that. And then this nice trine to Pluto to end the day of the eclipse is like, okay, now we can start the rebirth process. Now we can start to rise like a phoenix. Now we can understand why we had to alchemize all of those things so we can be reborn into this next version, iteration of ourselves. We understand what had to be burned away to create the ashes that we will rise from. And just a little like preview, the final connection the Taurus moon will make will be on Wednesday morning, and it will be a sextile to to Jupiter. So that will feel like a nice little like, okay, we can be optimistic again and really play into this energy of rising and regenerating and being reborn and moving forward. So just know that Pluto, yes, Pluto's intense, but this feels like kind of a period on the end of the whole eclipse process of realizations, of shifts. And then it's like, okay, we're good. We're transforming. It's all good. And that actually is a perfect time to talk about today's affirmation. I am transforming. We're not here to stay the same, my friends. We are here to evolve. We are here to constantly transform. We're meant to continually step into new versions of ourselves, to shed our skin like snake. You know, that's why the snake is the sign of transformation, because they're constantly shedding and regenerating. So remember, you are transformation in motion. Every 7 years, all of the cells in our body are regenerated, you know? So cells in your body on a very like physical, scientific level are constantly dying and regenerating. You are literally transforming, and that is such a beautiful thing. Is it always comfortable? No. But imagine if you never transformed, if you always stayed the same, who would you still be? You know, and that's something to ask yourself. If I was exactly who I was, or if I am exactly who I was a year ago, like what does that look like? And do I really want to be that version of myself? Or, you know, how have I transformed, and how do I want to continue transforming? So much transformation energy. Really loving this. So grateful for all of the messiness to embrace who I am. Beautifully said, Rachel. Seems like some of the softness I've been looking for without losing my boundaries. Yes, softness. Beautiful. Beautiful to lean into, especially with all that Aquarius Capricorn in your chart. Yeah. Beautiful. Transform for your highest good. Amen to that, Ken. We're transforming for our highest good. Oh, my partner last week told me how proud he was for how much I've grown. Meant so much for me. I love that. And we've been talking so much about Venus lately. When we say our relationships are our greatest teachers, our relationships are our mirrors, it doesn't necessarily mean all the bad stuff. You know, yes, relationships can be triggering, but it's really amazing when you have someone, you know, even if it's not a romantic partner, a parent, a friend who can witness you. The power of relationships is in the witnessing. And so I'm so glad that your partner acknowledged how much you've transformed. That is amazing. All right. Now for the fun part. What does this eclipse mean for you and your sign? I'm going to go through each sign, each rising sign to be specific. So if you don't know your rising sign, it's a great time to head to thespiritualjournalist.com/birth chart, type in your date of birth, and you definitely need to know the time for your rising sign. So if you don't know what time you were born, just listen for your sun sign, take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. But if you don't know your rising sign, there's a free calculator on my website right now. Just look for the ASC rather than the word rising. It means ascendant, and it's the same thing. I'll be going through each of the signs, and I'm going to start by pulling a card and then letting that really lead into what is coming through. It's going to be very much a channeled horoscope for each sign. So I'm pulling from the Cosmic Wild deck by Kokorina. This feels very much like the eclipse energy, right? The dark and the light all in the same deck. And we will start with our Taurus friends. So let me shuffle this up really quick. Hi, Alex. Happy to see you here. There are a lot of people here today that I haven't seen in a while, which is so much fun. And if you stick around till the end, I'll let you know about some ways to win free stuff from me all this week. Literally did a card pull this morning from a goddess deck, and it was a butterfly maiden transformation. Yeah, the butterfly is all about transformation. And I'm so glad you brought that up. I know we use this example all the time. Okay, Taurus card flying out of the deck. But butterflies have to turn into goo before they're butterflies, or caterpillars, I should say, have to turn into goo in their chrysalis and completely break down before they can transform into butterflies. So if you feel like you're in the goo phase, that's okay. The beauty will come, I promise. Okay, Taurus risings. The intuition card was pulled for you, the owl card. So an owl could be a totem that you work with, a spirit animal that you work with under this eclipse. And the owl is here to remind us of our wisdom and our intuition. With this lunar eclipse lighting up your first house, it's really a time to tap into who am I and what am I here to do? And a big part of that is tapping into your intuition. Now, if you're a Taurus rising, there's a chance that this lunar eclipse is right on your ascendant or even in the end of your 12th house, which is a very intuitive energy. Regardless, the past couple days have probably allowed you to tap into your intuition as the moon has been moving through your 12th house. So using that intuitive awareness and asking yourself from that place of connection, who am I becoming? Who am I here to transform into? And this guidebook says, ask yourself, how can I gain clarity in darkness? So that is the question for you, Taurus risings. Intuition, wisdom, and protection are the key words here. And also protecting your energy as well. You can't be fully tapped into your intuition if you're taking on other people's energy, right? Because then you're wondering, is that my intuition or is that someone else's influence that I'm feeling? So really tapping into who am I here to become? Who am I here to transform into? And asking your intuition to lead the way. This thing called adulting has gotten in the way. I feel that. Okay, moving on to our Aries risings. What do our Aries risings need to know about this eclipse? Elephant, sensitivity. Interesting for the Aries risings of the world that you get the elephant card, the sensitivity card, because this lunar eclipse is moving into your second house of values, of income, and of self-worth. So let's consult the guidebook and see what else the elephant has for us. Patience and strength. How do I protect my ideas, creativity, and mental health? What's interesting is with this lunar eclipse happening on the second house, 8th house axis for you, because Scorpio season has been lighting up your 8th house, and then the lunar eclipse is happening in your second house. It's really tying into your values, your income, but also how you're energetically tied to other people. So having strength, knowing your own boundaries, knowing that you might have to cut people off. And I think, elephants move very slowly. So you might be feeling this urge, like, I need to make more money, or I need to pay off debts, or like money stuff is coming up for you. But remember to tap back into your values and have patience. It's all going to work out for you, even if it feels like things are falling away or breaking down under this eclipse, or there's uncertainty about money or about how your energy is being used, even about your, physical environment or your physical abundance. Having patience, having strength, knowing that it's all going to work out. Also, it says be more aware of the power in your sensitivity. So, the 8th house, with the sun in your 8th house, it's very much tapping you into the energetics of things. And so if you're an Aries rising, you might be really headstrong and very physically focused, but a big part of calling in more physical abundance and calling in more income or more money is being tapped into energetics and sensitivity and into manifestation. You know, it's not all about the physical. We have to be tapped into the energetic to really fully call in the physical. So the elephant reminds you that remembering experiences can be powerful, but only if you use them to your advantage. How are the experiences you have undergone showing you what needs to happen for you to call in your abundance? Aries risings. Okay, Pisces risings. This lunar eclipse is moving into your third house of communication. So you could have some really powerful conversations surrounding this eclipse, or with the whole Mercury Cazimi activation happening, really powerful ideas could come through for you if you are a Pisces rising. But let's see. What do our Pisces risings need to know? The mouse, mindfulness. Okay, well, your mind is definitely going to be activated with the lunar eclipse in your third house. So the mindfulness card feels pretty spot on for you. Here is what it says. Mindfulness, consciousness, survival. Am I focusing on the right goals? Ooh. Be ever present and pay consciously attention to all the details around you. So really focusing, I think, is the big theme for you, Pisces risings. What are you focusing on? Attention, or what is it? Energy flows where attention goes. Energy goes, you know what I'm trying to say. So what are you focusing on? Not just the big goals, but the small things every day. The third house is very much about the details. And it could be that you're having conversations, you're communicating with other people, or having these ideas come through that make it clearer what you need to be focusing on. And maybe there's something you haven't been seeing, you know, a small detail that you've been missing that this eclipse reveals to you, Pisces risings. So that's very exciting. Stay open and pay attention to even small messages that come through. If you are seeing the same sign over and over again, rather than being like, oh, it's just another sign, look into it a little bit more. Go into the details of it and see if there's something you can pull from those. Okay, Aquarius risings. This lunar eclipse is moving into your fourth house of home and family. So there might be some things that have been coming up around either your house, you know, your physical house, or family dynamics. It's also important to note that this eclipse is happening on your 4th, 10th house axis. So it could be work-life balance or work-family balance has been coming up a lot for you over the past couple weeks and during Scorpio season. Like you have, you know, the sun moving through your 10th house is really illuminating these big goals and long-term plans you have for yourself. But has your home life been lacking, or how has your home life been affected because of this? Okay, what do the cards have to say for our Aquarius risings? Creativity, beautiful. Okay, the spider card. So looking for spiders, if you're seeing spiders, that is your sign, Aquarius risings. But the creativity card is coming through for you. Let's see. Spider, 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 where are you? I keep passing it. Okay. Creativity, karma, web of life. I love that this says karma because 10th house is very karmic. It's very much associated with karma. And it says, what kind of future am I creating? So that is the question for you to ask yourself. What kind of future am I creating? Is my future fully focused on work and my career and my long-term goals, or is the family I'm creating the big focus? There's no right or wrong answer here. But rather than thinking of this as like creativity and like being creative, like what are you creating, Aquarius risings? Embrace your dreams and ideas and start manifesting them. And also, how can your family and your home life be an asset for the bigger dreams and the long-term plans that you want to create? That could be a question to ask yourself too. But really tapping into, I think also, what am I creating? One more thing I want to say about this is Scorpio season. We've been talking a lot about energetics and deeper awareness and shadows coming up. And the 4th house often is associated with generational patterns. So this eclipse could be a turning point in a generational pattern. Maybe you are the one, Aquarius rising, breaking the generational pattern and asking yourself, what kind of life am I creating for the next generation? Or even for myself down the road. That could be a big part of the change or the transformation you are undergoing to set up a different pattern for the people ahead of you. So that's very exciting. We love that. Moving on to our Capricorn risings. This lunar eclipse is in your 5th house of the inner child, of romance and passion and creativity, and really of just having fun. So Capricorn risings are usually pretty business focused, or at least that's how they come across, pretty practical and logical. This lunar eclipse could be a turning point for you in, am I having enough fun? Am I doing enough things just for the joy of doing them? That's a big focal point of this eclipse. Or maybe with all of, we talked about Saturn being your ruling planet. If you're a Capricorn rising, forming a T-square to this lunar eclipse, you might be really stuck in your responsibilities, or normally stuck in your responsibilities at least. And this eclipse could be that turning point that just says, like, yeah, responsibilities are important, but so is having fun. So let's see. What do the cards have to say for our Capricorn risings? Hedgehog, manifestation. Ooh, I love this card. The manifestation card. So I think this, just right off the bat, is a reminder that having fun is part of the manifestation process. Again, Capricorn risings are very focused on their long-term goals. And hold on. I have to remember the alphabet really quick to find the hedgehog page. Really focused on your long-term goals, but are you having fun in the process of manifesting your long-term goals? Because being in the energy of how you want to feel when you reach the peak of the mountain is actually how you get there faster. And the hedgehog card says manifestation, inner peace, and fertility. How do I ground myself and find inner peace? So being grounded during the Taurus moon is definitely a message we can all receive. But also, in order to truly enjoy ourselves, I think we do have to have some sense of inner peace, right? We can be having fun, but if we're not finding peace within, then it's really hard to enjoy the thing that's fun, right? So are you at peace with the process of getting to where you want to go? And I love that this card also talks about fertility, because the 5th house, it's all about fertility and baby making and having fun in the process, right? So maybe that's part of your assignment during this eclipse, Capricorn risings, is to tap into that creative force within you, whatever that looks like for you. And creativity is supposed to be fun while it's happening. It's not just about the end result. It's about having fun in the process. That's your assignment under this lunar eclipse, Capricorn risings. Katie says, I love this. I had a hedgehog as a pet. Sometimes I feel like, what is the point of fun? But I think there's a lot of potential for connection and peace through fun. You nailed it, Katie. You nailed this card. And I love that you, as a Capricorn rising, are like, what's the point of fun? That's what this eclipse is here to teach you and show you. The point of fun is to help you get to where you want to go and enjoy the ride. Because if we're not enjoying the ride, are we really going to enjoy the end result that much? It's all about enjoying the ride. And you never know, the end goal might change along the way if you let yourself have a little fun and be a little explorative. Something better might come along. Something more creative and more fun and more fulfilling could enter your awareness. Sagittarius risings. This lunar eclipse is happening in your 6th house. So we're really feeling the energy between the 6th and 12th house. If you're a Sagittarius rising, healing could be a really big theme of this eclipse for you. And it could be a turning point in your healing journey, or even just in your general wellness. The 6th house is all about our health, our wellness, our routines. It also rules pets. So that could be coming up for Sagittarius risings. Maybe you're getting a pet or something is going on with your pet. But in general, this is all about your wellness. It's a turning point in your wellness. And is your daily routine supporting your wellness? Are you tapped into your values, your wellness values? Are you actually demonstrating those values through your daily routines. And, mental health could come up for you around this lunar eclipse too. So what do our Sagittarius risings need to know? Instinct, the horse card. I love that we got the horse card for Sagittarius risings because Sag energy feels very much like this unbridled horse, and horses operate off of instinct. So what do the cards have for you, Sagittarius risings? Instinct, power, and freedom. What makes me feel free? Learn to trust your instinct. I think often Sag risings get really caught up in the moment, very opposite to what we just talked about with Capricorn risings. They're very in the moment, all about instinct, all about just going with a feeling, right? But what makes you feel free long term might not be the same thing that makes you feel free in the moment. And I bring this up when we're talking about the 6th house. Yeah, you might want to go on a bender for the next week because you feel free doing it, or spend all your money because manifestation, woo, like I feel free. But 6th house energy is all about sustainable wellness, especially when we're talking about the Taurus moon. Like, what is sustainable in my wellness? So if you're going on a bender this week, what happens 2 months from now, or a year from now, or 5 years from now? It's more about trusting your true instincts, not just the spontaneous urges that you feel. And the term gut instinct is coming into my mind right now because the 6th house rules our digestion. So trusting your gut instinct. They call the gut the second brain, I think, of our system because our serotonin is formed in our gut. So for you, it's more about trusting what's really good for me and what will make me feel free, in the sense of being able to move my body how I want to move my body in my old age, in the sense of being able to do what I want to do because I'm well enough to do it. It's not just about freedom in the moment. It's about the freedom that we get through wellness and trusting your gut instinct, literally listening to what your gut is telling you. How's your digestion right now? Sagittarius risings, there could be a change that comes in your wellness if you take a moment to ask yourself, what would make me more free in my wellness, in my health? Scorpio risings. Relationships have been coming up for you, Scorpio risings. Of course, the sun is in your 1st house, so this is your season, my friends. You're probably feeling yourself if you're a Scorpio rising, but all of this eclipse activation could mark a turning point in your closest relationships. Not necessarily positive or negative, just a big change I would expect in your relationships that could help you better reflect on you and who you are becoming this Scorpio season. So, what do our Scorpio risings need to know? Dove, the faith card. Have faith. Ooh. Scorpio risings, have faith. You are somebody who probably likes to be in control of the transformation, right? You like to know what's going to come next. You like to know how other people are going to act and feel safe in the connections you have. That's why Scorpio risings tend to be pretty private, because like, can I really trust this person to see the real me, to see the truth of who I am? Have faith that the people coming into your life right now are here to teach you a lesson and are here for a reason. Faith, peace, and hope are the 3 main words that the Dove card brings up. And it asks, when do I need to let go and allow the wind to support my wings? Ooh, letting go of control, Scorpio risings, in relationships and just in your whole journey in general. We're not in control of the transformation. Yes, we are along for the ride. Yes, we can control how we react to it, but the transformation is going to happen how the transformation is going to happen. Have faith in that and pay attention to the synchronicities that come in the form of 3s. Okay, very specific message if you're a Scorpio rising. Pay attention to anything coming in 3s and have faith. Ask for a sign. Trust that the universe has a plan for you when it comes to love and when it comes to who you are meant to be. Corby says, faith is needed. This uncertainty has been so hard to navigate. I believe it. I believe it, Corby, but this is a turning point for you, and just trust that whoever's meant to be in your life will be in your life, and you are becoming the person you are meant to become. Just got to go with the flow. That's like Nick's mantra, always going with the flow, but that's beautiful. Have faith. Same thing as going with the flow. Okay, Libra risings. This is an 8th house eclipse for you. Deep, dark, and shadowy. So a lot of darkness might have been coming up around this eclipse, maybe some money stuff for you coming up around this eclipse with the sun moving through your 2nd house. But this is going to be a turning point in energetics, I think, for you if you're a Libra rising. How you're receiving energy, what kind of energy you're putting out, and how you're energetically tied to other people. So Libra risings, what do we need to know? Whale, wisdom, another wisdom card. The whale, I love this. So knowing that you have the wisdom you need to set boundaries, to call in the abundance that you want to call in. And yes, gratitude and awareness are the other 2 terms that come with this card. If you are a Libra rising, or if you are experiencing 8th house activation or even 2nd house activation during this eclipse, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. What do I wish to accomplish this lifetime around? So this eclipse could be bringing up deeper awareness for you, with it being in your 8th house, about past lives. Potentially the 8th house could deal with some past lives, some energetic ties from former versions of yourself that maybe you need to break, or maybe that you can tap into to, fully be in your power. But find gratitude in just being able to breathe. Think of the whale's breath, right? It's like this huge breath that we can visibly see when the water comes out of the spout. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or like you're not where you want to be right now, or fear is coming up for you, that's definitely possible during this eclipse in your 8th house. If fears have been coming up for you, just know that you can always come back to gratitude, and you can always come back to your breath. The main message for you is do a gratitude practice under this lunar eclipse if you are a Libra rising, or if this lunar eclipse is in your 8th house. Okay, deep, dark, shadowy, but you have the tools, Danielle. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude for you. And it comes back to what we were saying about this eclipse in general, like what has come to be for you in the past year. I know a lot has changed for you. And even in the past few weeks, I know a lot has changed for you. So having gratitude for everything that's going well can help sort of ease the fears or the unknown that you're experiencing right now. Okay, Virgo risings, my fellow Virgo risings. This full moon is moving into our 9th house of travel, expansion, opportunity, spontaneity, adventure. So this could be a turning point for you, Virgo risings, in how you want to expand and where you want to go, where you want to bring your energy to in the next chapter. It might be that you have been going through a lot of the muck of life right now in order to expand, but there's a lot of faith that comes with this eclipse for you in the 9th house, just really trusting in your own expansion and in your own growth. And gratitude feels very important as well if you're a Virgo rising, because the 9th house is all about sharing. So maybe it's that you actually display your gratitude by sharing with others or giving to others with this 9th house transit. Okay, what do the Virgo risings of the world need to know? Koala, innocence. I love this. Virgo energy is very innocent, or it's notorious for being innocent and pure. And so let's find out what the guidebook has to say. Innocence. Interesting. I think automatically it's like, how much can we grow if we approach things from an innocent mindset? As Virgo risings, we tend to like to be in control. But what if we just view the world from a childlike innocence, from a blank slate, from a clean slate, and just allowed things to grow organically? Innocence, appreciation, calmness are the key words here. How do I create calmness in my daily life? Wow. Okay, Koala Spirit. I hear you loud and clear as a Virgo rising. Embrace every moment with innocence. This feels like the energy of possibility, and that's very much tied to the 9th house. What is possible? Seeing things from an innocent mindset, the possibilities are endless. So coming back to that sense of childlike wonder and like, wow, we'll see what happens. I'm just an innocent bystander of this powerful energy, and I am open to the highest good, the highest potential for myself. I love beluga whales, but also this is confirmation to do a cord cutting and fully release what no longer serves me so I can be my best self. Going back to the 8th house energy, absolutely cut the cords if you're a Libra rising. Cut them off. Just let it go. For sure. For sure. Okay, 3 more. Leo risings, this eclipse lands in your 10th house. So very similar to that work-life balance, but you could experience a big shift or change in your long-term goals during this eclipse. As you reflect on your values and what's truly important to you, you might find yourself thinking, well, do my long-term goals really align with my current values? And this is full permission to change your mind and change the trajectory of where you're going. It's okay if you've been walking this path and all of a sudden you feel inspiration to move in another direction. Leo energy is fixed energy, really feeling the tension between all of the fixed energy we're dealing with right now, opposing Saturn and Aquarius. So you might feel like you've been like, no, this is what I have to do. This is what I decided on. It might feel very rigid for you. This eclipse, Leo risings, is full permission to just change your dang mind. Allow yourself to adapt a little bit more easily rather than being so stuck and stubborn in your energy. So Leo risings, the card coming up for you is readiness, the frog. Are you ready to jump into something new? Because the frog spirit is asking you to be ready for that change. And here's what it says. Readiness, change, and healing. We love this for our Leo risings. What do I need to change to become healthier physically and emotionally? Be always ready and prepared to transform and come into your power. So this is in line with what I was just saying. Leos are often the people who enter the room and they don't really change their energy based on their environment. They're just kind of like, here I am, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. But what would happen if you allowed yourself to transform a little bit? If you allowed yourself to change a little bit? If you allowed yourself to be a little bit more flowy with the current energy? Your long-term goals, your big dreams might change too and might be more aligned with the version of yourself that you are transforming into and becoming. Cancer risings, this is an 11th house transit for you. So it's really bringing a lot of change and transformation to your network, to your friend groups. You might even be experiencing a transformation in like how you're showing up in the collective if you're a Cancer rising. Let's see what card wants to, whoop, there it is, flying out. It's coming through. The Swan card, purity. For Cancer risings. Interesting. Interesting. I'm not even going to try to interpret that. I'm just going to let the guidebook do it for me because, let's see. Swan, swan, swan. Where are you? Purity, trust, and grace. I feel like this is a sign to give other people grace, Cancer risings, and to really lean into that compassion we were talking about earlier. Who and what can I trust blindly is the question it asks. Appreciate the love that comes into your life. So an appreciation for the people that you can just totally trust, but also, you know, checking How am I showing up? Am I being too guarded? Am I not allowing myself to trust people? That can be a byproduct of being a Cancer rising, being a little bit protective and giving other people grace, right? Like when we are looking at people through the lens of grace, it makes it a little easier to trust them and be like, it's okay. I understand your intention. So are people's intentions pure? As the purity card comes up, are your intentions pure? And how are you showing up? Who are you trusting? Who are you letting into your crab shell, into your inner circle? There could be a change or a transformation that comes up around the people you surround yourself with under this lunar eclipse. And last but certainly not least are Gemini risings. This is a 12th house eclipse for you. Woo! Not an easy energy to deal with at all. Luckily, the full moon in your sign is coming next month during Sagittarius season. So this feels a lot like endings, releasing, letting go for you. If you are a Gemini rising, just putting things to bed, putting things to rest, letting things flow, and trust is a big theme for you as well if you're a Gemini rising. So let's see what final message needs to come through for our Gemini risings. Praying mantis, stillness. This could not be a more perfect card for a 12th house transit. Stillness. The 12th house is all about stillness, being in that chrysalis, allowing yourself to fully decompose so that for the full moon in your sign, in your first house, in the next cycle, you are able to reemerge as the butterfly coming out of its cocoon. The praying mantis card also says, let me find it. Stillness, concentration, and meditation. Meditating during the eclipse or in the day following the eclipse could bring through some powerful insights about what is falling away, what is transforming for you. What do I observe when I remain still is the question it asks. Save your energy for things that are vital for your survival. Mars is retrograde in your first house too. So you might feel like your life force energy has been pulled in a lot of different ways. If you're a Gemini rising, this lunar eclipse is a change for you in the sense it's asking you to just be still and stop going, and doing, which comes very naturally for you if you're a Gemini rising, right? Instead, just give yourself permission to be still, let things be released, go within, find that rest, find that meditative state, and you might be surprised by what insights come through, as this is such a powerful transit for us to receive downloads and guidance from the universe. So for you especially, be still, take some time to be by yourself in quiet. We know you like your stimulation, Gemini risings, but this is asking you for a change in the sense that you're doing the opposite of what normally stimulates you, and just allow that stimulation to come from stillness and come from source. I'm so happy to go through each sign. And of course, you know, this is, if you know your chart, you can pinpoint exactly what other planets this eclipse is activating for you. But I love that we did a card pull for each sign, because these changes are unique to each of us. And sometimes, especially during intense transits like the one we're experiencing now, it's nice to have a message from the universe and know that we're being supported and that it's all going to work out. That was a big theme of a lot of these cards, was trust, let go, allow, and flow. And there's really nothing else we can do. The more we're in a state of trust and allowance, the more clearly these downloads and insights and transformations can come through and can happen. Thank you for being here, the mind of Mary Madeline. So cool. Love your name. Okay. That's going to do it for this full overview of the total lunar eclipse in Taurus happening Tuesday morning, late Monday night into Tuesday morning, depending on where you live. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you're new here, please go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel so we can keep these videos coming to you for free every weekday. It's such a passion of mine to share this knowledge I have, because it really has helped me navigate my life and my world a little bit more easily, understanding the planetary energy that's happening and affecting all of us. And I think every person deserves to have that level of awareness and understanding that even when things are crazy, it's all happening for a reason. And we're always supported. We're always supported. Even the intense, hard transits that we go through, even eclipses that can bring big changes and shifts, are supporting our ultimate evolution and our ultimate transformation. And this is a powerful moment for me as well, because this week is the celebration of 1 year of transits today, and Friday will mark 1 year of the spiritual journalist. So I'm officially bringing the spiritual journalist back on Friday, 11/11, and all week leading up to it, I'll be doing fun giveaways on my Instagram just to share my appreciation with all of you who have been on this journey with me. Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot. I'm feeling my voice a little like grumbly because I've been talking so much, but I'm glad you're feeling the gracefulness. And yes, it is 11/11. I love your channel name too, Siren. Love that. All about it. So yes, giveaways. I'm going to just tell you about each of the giveaways and then look in the next hour or two on my Instagram. This is my Instagram handle right here if you want to come find me, or you can just search The Spiritual Journalist on Instagram and I should pop up. And I'll be announcing the 5 giveaways and how you can enter. But today's giveaway, the first 4 people who DM me, or not DM me, the first 4 people who share what I'm going to post on Instagram to their stories, comment on it, I will DM you. And I will offer you a free mini voice recording reading about what I see this lunar eclipse doing for you based specifically on your chart. So I'll look at the other placements in your chart, of course, what areas are being activated, and just send you a couple little voice memos with a custom reading, a mini reading for you for the solar eclipse. On Tuesday, tomorrow, I'll be giving away a free sticker. So something small, but if you don't know, now you know. There are astrology stickers on my website, thespiritualjournalist.com/shop. And you can check them out through the QR code as well. But I'll send you a free sticker with your sign on it, or maybe a couple stickers. So that'll be our Tuesday giveaway. On Wednesday, the giveaway will be access to transits or transit tracking, the course that I'm starting in January on the Aquarius new moon. It'll be a month-long container where I teach you week by week how to track the transits through your personal chart so you can have a very personal understanding of what all of this means for you. And so you can understand, as we're talking about the transits every day, specifically what it's affecting in your life. So Wednesday will be a free giveaway of an access pass to that container, that month-long container that starts in January. And Thursday, I'm giving away some merch. So $22 toward something on my website. Anything, a t-shirt, stickers if you want, but I would go for like a mug or a t-shirt or a bag or something like that. You'll get a promo code to buy something on my website, $22 off. And on Friday, on 11/11, I'll be giving away a free reading with me, an hour-long reading. So there will be details on the post about how to enter each of those things, and we'll work through it together as the week goes on. I'll keep reminding you about the giveaways. I'll probably announce them all on Instagram too. It's just easier to do it that way. But I just really, I took some time to think about how can I celebrate you, because ultimately I would not be here without you, without all of your love and support and the subscriptions, all of you helping me get to 1,000 subscribers, helping me monetize this channel. It really does mean the world to me. And I just want to do a little something in my power that I can to give back to you. So if you're not following me on Instagram and you want to be involved in those giveaways, follow me now and stay tuned in the next couple hours. And you also have one more day for the discounted price on transit tracking, that month-long container I mentioned. It will go up on Tuesday night. So right now it's just $55 for a month-long course, which is a steal if you ask me, if you compare it to other month-long courses. And it will go up probably not quite to the full price, but significantly. So if you want to get in on that, do it sooner rather than later. And you can find that in my shop as well. Or you can just, again, scan the QR code. That's the easiest way to access all of these things. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. And I'm just, ooh, yes, I would love to see you there, Fern. I love you all. I hope that this eclipse brings powerful, beautiful insights and transformation into your life. And again, remember, you are here to transform. You are transforming. You are the butterfly, and you'll continually become new butterflies and continually transform throughout your life. This is just one of those pivotal moments where our transformation becomes front and center and crystal clear. So I'm excited to see how it affects each and every one of you. Sending love, healing, and support to everyone this full moon. Thank you, Katie, for being here. All right, before I lose my voice, I will let you all go, and I will see you not tomorrow morning. We will not have an episode on Tuesday. This is the Tuesday episode, but I'll be back on Wednesday morning with another episode of Transits Today, and to hear how all of your eclipse experiences went. We are going to get through this beautifully transforming time. Okay, everybody, have a beautiful eclipse, and I will see you on Wednesday morning. Until I see you next, though, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.